Yes. Well, my name is Diana Garrett, and I normally work in Camp Kikomar in Mexico on the Mexican Gulf Coast, which is like a sister camp to Camp Kikomar. So we have very little in common because Camp Kikomar is up in the mountains and is cold, and we're right on the beach in normally hot weather, but we do have one thing in common, which is scorpions in the bathrooms. So, and in other places. So that is my normal placement. My coworker Mirna and I have been serving in Camp Kikomar for 16 years now, and we have been working together as a team, the two of us, for 30 years. It'll be this year, and we served on the edge of Mexico City in one of the low-income areas before, in a place called Chalco, before we came to the beach. So it's a very different ministry setting. And I am currently in Costa Rica, which is my other nationality. I'm Mexican by birth, but Costa Rican by growing up, and my parents live here, and I'm currently here because I had cancer discovered last year, and I'm in treatment for that. It's kind of a preventative treatment, so I'm not in the middle of a really difficult situation. You know, it's immunotherapy, it's not chemotherapy, and I'm just thoroughly enjoying the time with my parents, who are older and their health is frail, but at the same time complete, you know. So they love the Lord and they work in the kingdom, and so we are doing it together as our strength allows. And I am continuing to serve as much as I can by distance in Kikomar, helping with communications and with administration and that kind of thing. And as far as prayer requests, I have some very specific ones of things that are going on in the ministry right now, and I just sent out a prayer letter, so I know that you're kind of caught up. But one is we help with an indigenous community in nearby Huasteca Mountains. They're Nahuatl speaking. They use Spanish as a second language. And they have been enduring severe persecution from the other people in their traditional indigenous community. And that includes the fact that they have lost rights to attend the community school. And so they've set up a church school in the last 4 years in their church to be able to cover education. And this is a very big project that they've taken over, but the Lord has given them much grace with that. They've lost access to wells, the community wells, so they've had to be digging their own wells, and they haven't been able to completely satisfy that need for the believers. But the big problem started on the 21st of December when a woman was attacked a believer was attacked by the non-believers when she was on a property that was hers, but that the other people said was not hers, and they They nearly killed her. She was in intensive care for 3 weeks, getting over internal injuries, and is still very, very frail in health. But her faith is just incredible. She's made a decision to follow the Lord no matter what it costs. And her name is Laura, and she has recovered enough to start going to church again. And her children are motivated to follow the Lord also, no matter how much it costs. And so she's doing well. But the community has notified the government of the persecution, something that they haven't wanted to do up to now. And this has caused a confrontation between the non-believing persecutors and, the believers. And on Monday, there was a very important meeting that I asked prayer for, in which the government officials went into the community and met with the leaders of the community. And the believers were not allowed in. They were standing outside. The whole set of 100 believers were standing outside the meeting room. And I gather from the report that we got that they could overhear what was going on. And the government officials tried to explain to them that the believers do have rights, that the land is theirs, and that they have rights, and that they are not non-citizens. And the unbelievers were not accepting that. They were trying to, they were responding with violence, but fortunately they didn't attack the government officials. But so now is what's going to happen now. There's an official declaration in the municipal authorities of the attack that they did on Laura. And there's also the whole land issue. And the authorities are giving the believers they're saying you have rights, and this is you have right to your own religion, you have freedom of expression, you have these things, but the internal communities do not want to accept that. So they need much prayer at this time. And we thank the Lord for the support of the municipal authorities, because in other persecution situations, they actually, throw the believers under the bus, so to speak, in the sense that, you have to do what the majority of the community says that you need to do. We're not going to get involved. Right. But the municipal authorities is doing what they're supposed to do. So thank you for your prayers up to now, and we continue to ask for prayers as they move forward with this. Their hope is to set up, and it's already happening, is a new community, administratively speaking, so that the government will then speak to the believers as separate from the Rancho Nuevo community where they originally belonged. And it's called Tepanco, which means, in the Nahuatl language, it means upon the rock. And so it's a secular name, but all of us believers know that upon the rock is a very strong metaphor, biblical metaphor. So that's on the indigenous side. I'd also like to ask prayer for the next, for Kikomar, for March 16th through 29th, which is a week from today. We have a group coming in from LAM Canada to do construction at the camp, and pray for protection. They're a group that comes in like a whirlwind, and they do so much, but they create a lot of work and a lot of stress. And I'm not there to support Midna in this, and it usually takes the two of us hanging in tight to be able to survive this onslaught. And so I'm somewhat concerned for Midna. I've tried to get help for her. There are people going to help, but just pray for Midna, and for the whole group, because there's a lot of stress.
Is Ali and Pedro still there?
Eli and Madai, his wife, and then there's Carlos, young Carlos.
That's what I meant. Yeah, Carlos.
Right. And so the team is doing. I feel confident, but we'd just be praying for that.
Yeah, I got it.
And praying for Midna's health. She had an ultrasound a couple of days ago with the same people who discovered the tumor in my kidney.
Oh boy.
And they've discovered that her gallbladder is very, very full of stones and sand and stuff. And they're saying that she needs surgery as soon as possible as a preventative thing, because it won't be long before this will begin to cause severe distress. And so yesterday she went to see the gastroenterologist, and he confirmed, and he said, this is probably something you should do before it begins to cause problems. So that's something new on the horizon that she feels like she doesn't need. Of course, she's going to do the Canada team before facing this, but if we can be praying for her for that. And then, sorry, I'm taking more time, but it helps that there are less of us around.
Yeah, it's all good.
There's another very important prayer request that has to do with our legal standing as a camp before the government. And that is that Camp Kikomar is being right on an island, right, with a beachfront and then a front to the lagoon, to the estuary. We have custody of like 4 or 5 acres of what they call federal zone. It belongs to the federal government. It doesn't belong to us, but we have been given custody of it. And this year, that custody is up for renewal. And with all the environmental hype in the world, there are new requirements and new restrictions that have come in the last 15 years since we originally got the custody. And so there are issues. If somebody, the Mina was in giving in all the paperwork last week in the capital of Veracruz, and they brought up a number of red flags and said, that shouldn't be there, and your permits aren't complete with this kind of thing. And they're going to send an inspector either at the end of this month or the beginning or in April. And a lot for the camp depends on that inspector. Because if the inspector has grace and looks at our hearts and what we have done, they will know that we've taken care of the camp and we have reforested and we have done all that we can to take care not only of the federal zone, but also the whole camp itself. And the buildings we've built are environmentally friendly and everything, with the spirit of things. But if they want to find problems, they will find them. And so we're praying for this inspector. We're praying for God to have mercy and grace, because the people who look at the paperwork can find all the places where we've failed. But an inspector can come in and see the grace of God and see our desire and our wanting to help out and the good things that we do. And so we are praying for that. We got the name of the person who's been assigned to the case. We don't know if he's the inspector, but his name is Tomás Martínez. And so we can be praying for Tomás Martínez, praying for Minna because she's very tense. She's not going to be able to leave the camp until this inspection takes place, because she needs to be there. She's the legal representative for all of this process. And so please be praying for that. And I think that's it. I'd like to just mention when you said that Isaiah is working with Young Life. My heart jumped because my brother just gave up being a pastor here in Costa Rica a year ago and signed a contract with Young Life, working in all of Latin America, helping to coordinate and to train the Young Life teams in Latin America. He's joined the missionary forces, and it's great to see Isaiah and his participation in a ministry that I've come to know and love and just believe in all that it's doing through my brother's involvement in it. So he's now living in Guatemala and coordinating from there.